to you all and welcome to another episode of Wear Many Hats. My name's Rachel and this is the podcast totally dedicated to the FM and property world. Today we've got a fantastic guest with us. It's Beatrice Ronchetti. She is a founder, she's also self-employed and she's a personal branding specialist within real estate. Welcome.
Thank you, Rachel. It's so nice to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you here. And did you come from far this morning?
Not that far. So I'm based in Clapham. So just a nice trip on the tube. Not too bad.
It's quiet on a Friday, isn't it?
It's quiet. It's a lovely sunny day today.
Yeah.
So it was a nice commute.
It is. And so thank you. I'm excited to hear. This is a totally different twist from what we would normally do. So I'm going to let you, kind of guide us on this as well, and tell us what you do and how it can benefit the FM and property world. So let's rewind a bit.
Exciting.
So, yes, I'm excited to hear this. Where did it all start for you?
Yeah, gosh, good question. So I'm Italian originally, so I grew up in Italy and I studied architecture. So I think if you leave a kind of high school and you're one of those people that know exactly what the path is and what their passion is, and you're very fortunate. I don't think I was one of those people. So I was always very creative and driven to the kind of design world and architecture world. So I picked architecture and inevitably my career ended up being quite squiggly, so I didn't follow the kind of traditional path. Yeah. I qualified as an architect and I was in Italy. I knew I needed to get some experience. So I went and joined this architectural practice, which was quite big, quite well known in Rome. And I thought, well, this would be great for my CV.
Very nice.
So I said, I'll just apply. And they said, well, we actually need somebody in the marketing department. And I thought, well, that's a bit odd. I don't know anything about marketing. And they said, no, but the only requirement is for the intern to speak English. And I could speak English.
Right.
So I thought, well, it doesn't matter what position I'm in. I can always move across, but this name would really help my CV and my experience. So I went and did that. And that was the first time that I kind of came in contact with marketing.
Yes.
And from there, I then kind of followed that path fully because I then went and studied it. And then I became a marketing specialist for the world of real estate, the built environment.
Wow. And I mean, we like to say, like, sort of, did you always know you were following this path? But I guess not, because you went into architecture and moved into marketing. So,
gosh, Rachel, absolutely not. And I think this is often what happens, that you get presented with opportunities and you meet some people along the way.
Yes.
And then you either take them or you don't. Because I could have said no to that role and been like, no, I want to kind of just focus on architecture.
Yes.
But yeah, I think even when I moved to the UK, to London 10 years ago, on my CV, it did say that I had this somewhat marketing experience, even though it was from just an internship point of view. And when I was applying in architectural practice, they would say, well, could you also help with marketing? And I joined a very small architectural practice and I ended up doing all of the marketing and very little architecture. And I was still very much learning on the job at that point. But the more I did it and the more I liked it. So that's when I became serious about marketing applied to the world of real estate. I actually went and studied it. And then I went into corporate in a more kind of formal marketing department role. But that's the thing. I kind of just followed the crumbs a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you say you came to the UK 10 years ago. What sort of brought you here?
Yes, definitely career opportunities. So I knew that there was more choice and better opportunities over here. And truth be told, I was only going to stay for a year. And 10 years later, here we are.
You're still here.
I never left. Yeah.
This isn't one of the questions, but your English is perfect. I mean, you would have thought that you were born and raised here. So have you learned English?
Yeah.
Or are you half English or what?
I am not. So I went to an English school. So that was very helpful. So But the funny thing is that we were saying before we started is that somehow I've kind of got rid of the heavy Italian accent, but I've developed a weird twang, which is often confused for Irish or Welsh or something like that. So, but yeah, that's how I learned English.
That's brilliant, though. I mean, and very inspiring to anyone, and we do have quite a few, what we would call people that coming over here from other countries and having to learn the language from scratch.
It's quite
something, So it's inspiring to people that, that are listening to this that English isn't their first language, you know, that it is possible. So well done. That's an achievement in itself.
Thank you.
Before anything else. So when you got to the UK, what, you know, did you have a job when you moved here, or did you have to apply when you got here? Is it a bit of a risk? And
yeah. Well, again, it's literally like following the golden thread. So one of the ladies that was working and no doubt mentoring me in that initial marketing role that I had as an intern, she had just moved back from London. So she said, let me introduce you to some people. And so that's how my first role in that architectural practice came about. I went to did the interview from Italy. So when I moved here, luckily, I already had that kind of first stepping stone.
Wow.
And I met some incredible people that I'm still very good friends with. So then I moved into a very different reality, which was a kind of big corporation. Still such a great journey to be on. Yeah,
definitely. So, you know, this is one of my questions is, you know, who gave you that real push? Would it have been that first lady that kind of, she gave you a push, or is it family? Or, I mean, obviously a lot of it's yourself, but, you know, who gave you that real push to start?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's a difficult one because I think we do meet lots of people that we have really pivotal conversations with and like make you realize, you know, one thing or the other. But I would say that I was working with two kind of more senior ladies in that initial role, and they were both incredibly inspiring because they were so passionate about what they did and kind of communicating the world of architectural real estate and turning it into beautiful marketing. So basically, I would say through those conversations and working with them, I saw what was possible. I got a feel for, you know, what was their day to day like. And keeping in mind at this point, I was an architect or soon to be an architect. So all I knew was what would my life as an architect be like. But this was a completely new niche that I hadn't really thought about. So looking at architecture from a completely different perspective. So I would say that those were definitely some of the first conversations that showed me a different way, a new path, and I felt very drawn to it. But it wasn't on my radar. When I was, you know, choosing my studies, I didn't think about marketing. It just wasn't something that was front of mind.
So you sort of, well, you did fall into that role.
I did.
You took a gamble. It was obviously meant to be.
Yeah.
Just look at you now. So let's have sort of a chat about what you actually do day to day. What does it look like for you in a day?
Yeah.
Or a couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do today, I know that I haven't kind of covered the full journey, but basically 5 years ago, I set up my own business. And so now I work for myself, and I've specialized even further within real estate on personal branding. And personal branding is all about elevating people and leaders' profile in the industry. So making sure that their market, their niche sees them as the go-to expert or as a strong voice, as a strong service provider in some cases. And that is a way for them to grow the business, to scale, to attract a better caliber of projects, whatever the goal might be. But it's all done through making them well-known and respected in their industry for their expertise. And that happens through different channels, different strategies, which we will probably get into a bit more. So how do I help people do that? And so how does that translate into my day-to-day? So I'm a consultant, a coach, and a speaker. So my day could look very different depending, but I travel a lot to talk. So I travel to events to kind of deliver my talks and my workshops around personal branding and how to kind of elevate those brands. I talk a lot about how to do that on LinkedIn, because obviously in our industry, it's a huge channel.
It is.
I also coach people and leaders one-to-one. Typically, I do that remotely. And so, typically my role my day could involve something like running a workshop in the morning, having a one-to-one session in the afternoon, preparing to travel the next day to speak at a conference, anything of that sort. But I'm having lots of fun with it.
Are you talking in front of lots of people, or because that's quite nerve-wracking, right? You know, personally speaking, we're on a microphone and we're not on video. We can't be seen, but you're actually filmed, aren't you? Sometimes, I've seen your profile on LinkedIn, and I can see the videos and stuff that you're in. So were you always confident, or because you seem
no.
you seem very calm, and I sometimes I think public speakers are sort of these people that are quite extrovert, but you don't seem like that, which is interesting. So tell me a little bit about that, because that's not a question, but
yeah, of course, yeah. So personal branding has been a huge part of building my business, and public speaking is such a powerful way to do that, especially if you're delivering educational content, but also to reach many people and inspire many people at the same time. So I knew that needed to become a big part of my personal brand. So the short answer is, was I always confident doing it? Absolutely not. I started very small. I started, talking to rooms of 5 or 10 people. Now I can speak to rooms of 200, 250 people, and I might do a webinar for 500 people. But you know what? I have done it so many times.
Now
it's a skill. It's a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more you can have fun with it, because you see the results, and you see where you can improve, and then you do improve. And then I think when the fun kicks in, when you're like, I'm actually excited to do this, I'm having fun doing this, that's when you are your best, and it becomes a lot easier. But this is what I say to everyone that goes into public speaking, because I do think that's a great way to build your personal brand. It's a skill. It's not something, I know that, we think that some people are naturally prone to it, and part of it is true, like everything. But it's definitely something that you can just develop.
Yeah, I agree. I came on Wear Many Hats and started season 2, and I'd never done a podcast before, and I was absolutely terrified. Thankfully, I knew the chap that come on quite relatively well, so I felt more comfortable with that, and kind of knew a little bit of his background. I was so scared. I literally had to have a little word with myself, like, "Come on, you're not even being filmed," But it is. But the more you do it, and I love it. I mean, I get to speak to some fantastic people like yourself, and I have a pad and pen, because I like to write down books that people recommend and adventures they've been on, and I'm like scribbling it down because I hear so many wonderful stories, But it was really frightening at first. But so what we're basically saying is keep trying until you're comfortable and enjoying it. I guess it's
absolutely, and also play to your strengths. If I'm going on a big stage, I always need a moment before that to just I can
imagine,
breathe and collect your thoughts, and whatever techniques I know help me, and I know that for me it's anchoring to the enjoyment of it. Like, how can I make this fun, and what's my goal here? Where I'm trying to inspire all of these people, isn't that great? But I know that I've developed a little routines and processes that can help me be my best and kind of silence the voices in your head, because we all have some of that some days, right? We don't always feel like huge, enormous. In personal branding, it's a huge thing, and sometimes I coach CEOs of big businesses, and they've done incredible things, and they have those feelings as well. You think, well, how, with all the experience that you have, why would you be scared of sharing your expertise? It's so normal. We are humans. You're right. So it's a case of knowing yourself and knowing how to help yourself be supported.
Some good tips. So let's talk about challenges. What's sort of testing you right now in your role?
That's a good question. So what's testing me in my role? So I would say I'm definitely in a growth phase. So the business has been growing, which is amazing. I am still very agile in my model. So I don't have a team, but I have, assistants and freelancers that help me. So I suppose for me personally, I'm at crossroads, and I'm like, well, right, what do I want to do? Do I want to build a big team, or do I just want to stay as very much, it's me and my personal brand? I love the agility, because it means that I can pivot very quickly, which I think at this time in the industry is a good thing to have, that agility piece where you can kind of change very quickly. So for me, I'm kind of grappling with that at the moment.
It's a good thing to be grappling with, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's still a challenge. I mean, because you don't, if you take on a team, then you've got responsibility of staff, which is a challenge in itself. I've run my own business, so I know, and I have worked alone as well. So I've done the two. There's pros and cons to both, right? So I think you're going to have to weigh it up.
Yeah.
Maybe give it a go if you've not done it before. I think that's maybe that's the challenge, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Yeah. But I think to answer your question from a broader perspective, I think challenges at the moment, there's two worlds that I'm in, right? One is the real estate world and one is the digital marketing world, if you like. And I think both are changing very quickly.
Yes.
So, and I think there's positive changes and changes that maybe are a little bit more scary, if you like. So I suppose with my role, I'm always, because I'm moving between these two worlds that move quite quickly, I think my challenge is always making sure that I am leveraging the positive changes and embracing things like, AI for me, it's huge. Is it going to replace me? Is it not going to replace me? I know that we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we do.
But also I think the industry is going at such a pace, especially niches like workplace, right? COVID has completely thrown the dynamics.
It has.
Hasn't it? And so I think for me, it's about keeping a finger on the pulse to make sure that I understand what people need. How can I serve them? How can I leverage the new things, the new trends that are entering the market?
And staying on top of that, yeah.
Staying on top of that and staying relevant, but also making sure that I understand how the market changes so that I know how my clients' needs are changing and I can fill those gaps. Because I think, throughout my career, and I think we all probably feel the same, I don't think we've ever gone at this pace.
No.
Where everything is changing so fast. And so I think that's something that's probably quite a common challenge for everyone, just making sure that we all know what direction we're going on.
Yeah. And I think, sort of touching in on AI, obviously, and tech and all of this, where do you think that the workplace or the industry is heading?
Yeah.
Because, because you're talking to everybody. So where do you think it's heading?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, and I think everyone's asking themselves the same question, right? And I love how there's so many open conversations about it at the moment, because we're all making educated guesses, I think, because of that pace of change. So I think from an AI perspective, there's no point shying away from AI.
It's what I'm hearing from guests. Yeah.
It's here. It's not going anywhere.
I'm an advocate of it. I love it.
Absolutely love it. And it helps me a lot in my business. I think we've all had processes that have been accelerated and things that we couldn't do before that now are very easy to do. And I think it's just brilliant. It's amazing. I think people are worried about, am I going to be replaced? Am I going to lose my job? But I think what I'm hearing a lot, and I'm completely on board with it, people that will genuinely be replaced are the ones that will be replaced by people that can use AI to do the job.
And there's also the protection around AI. My son's in cybersecurity. He's been mentioned so many times. He probably doesn't even listen to these. It's no interest. He's in cybersecurity, so there's going to be people that, because you're putting your data into these. You got to. There's going to be jobs created from AI. There is already.
There is already.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've mentioned before, I have ADD and ADHD, and I feel ChatGPT, for instance, is and Copilot. I have the purchased one of ChatGPT because I do use it every day.
Yeah.
In all areas, and it just helps, and it just speeds things up a little bit. I used to think, gosh, because back in my recruitment days, I'm thinking this would have been really good for me, because I remember sometimes sort of sitting there and thinking, how am I going to write this email, or how do I approach this person? And now I can actually just put in what I want it to, and it spits out exactly what I need. Sometimes we have to edit it, and this is the thing: you've got to be really careful what you put in. Is what. You've got to check it as well. Yeah. And I think, this is where we have to be careful with AI, because it's not 100%.
Yeah, it's not 100%. And I think also because of this speed of change, I don't think we are prepared for we don't know what the risks are yet. So very soon we've realized actually these are open platforms. We're putting all of this data in. Where is this going? It's too late. There's already so much in there, right? Yeah. And also I was speaking to a recruiter actually the other day, and they were saying that a lot of recruitment companies use AI to scrape LinkedIn and scrape the internet. So if you don't have the right keywords in your headline, in your CV, you just get cast aside, even though you might be a good fit for the role. So there's a lot that we're now delegating to AI, and some things I think are still slipping through the cracks because it's not perfect. So I think we are using it before we actually know, which is fine. It's how progress works, right? We're doing it a bit clumsily in some ways. And I think there's also, AI is moving forward. Things like, I don't know, I see that there's bots that clean houses now and all of that. And it's like, well, we don't know how this is going to go. We haven't thought about it enough before, like just hitting the ground running with it. And again, that's how progress works. But that's why I think it's also quite fascinating, because I think we will make mistakes along the way.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes, to be honest.
I'm so excited.
And in terms of an FM and a property, a lot of our workplace ladies and gents that come on the show, I know that they use it to speed up things to help. I think, with reporting.
Yes.
I think it's a good tool for them. It speeds things up for them. And it's an interesting one on recruitment, though, because obviously that was my background. I wondered what that, I never used it in recruitment. But I wondered how that would have sped things up for me. And you said about scraping all the work. Yeah. We used to call that a Boolean search, which is capturing words out of certain CVs on, say, the job boards. And now I guess I might have to go and have a look and see how it was.
Well, that's the thing. I think AI, the biggest potential at the moment, I think, is with data. And thinking about our sector, now buildings have all of these sensors that are constantly collecting data about how people are behaving, the occupancy rate and all of that. What do you do with this data? The key thing is you're not doing anything with it unless you're looking at it, interpreting it. And AI can now just speed everything up.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a good platform. It's got to be used properly, because you don't want to be drawing the wrong conclusions from all this data, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the potential there, incredible.
For the property industry, I know that, especially say we're in labs right now, utilising something, where they can actually track people coming in and out of the restrooms, the toilets, coming out in and out of the kitchen spaces, and even meeting rooms like we're in now. They could see the footfall coming in and out, and okay, what now? We need to go clean that room, or now we need to restock that room. I think in terms of facilities, that's fantastic.
Incredible. It's absolutely incredible, because you're responding to people's needs in real time.
Yeah.
You can see exactly how the space is being used, and the cleaning and what's needed. I think it's unprecedented opportunity there. So I think there's a lot to be excited for.
So tech is definitely the way forward, isn't it? So AI is a friend of yours then.
Absolutely.
And you don't feel, you mentioned about, is your job, I don't think so.
So I think the reality is, I don't think any of us, because we couldn't have imagined this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I think nobody is necessarily safe. We say some jobs will say, I think every single job will change. So I think where, AI is used a lot to create content. So from a marketing perspective, you could say, AI is coming for the industry.
Brilliant.
I think that there's two things. Well, one, I know that at the moment what AI can't do is, when I sit down with a business owner or a business and I help them take all of their expertise, their USPs, their value, how they're doing things differently, the CEO's personal experience, their journey, etc., and translate that into a message for their ideal client. Because I understand the industry and I know how to do that, I know that that's where I add the most value at the moment. But that agility piece that I talked about at the beginning, I think we all need to become very good at being resilient and agile and be ready to pivot. Yeah. Because we are living in a world that's changing very quickly. And so I think it's tricky to draw conclusions and say, no, my job is safe. I think it's important to, keep your ear to the ground and be like, right, where are we going? And how can I serve my clients, my customers in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even if it's speculation. But I think it's important to have that thought process, because the change is incredible.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? So ESG is a buzzword at the moment. Are you involved? You've nodded with delight. Is that something that you get involved with your clients?
I would say from a communications perspective, it is. And I think it's a very interesting space at the moment because obviously ESG is on everyone's radar.
Yep.
Businesses know that they need to focus on it. Sometimes because they have to. There's also like requirements, regulations.
Yep.
I think, especially from a sustainability perspective, the younger generations very attentive to everything to do with the kind of the social value, the sustainability, etc., governance. The thing is that I notice is that when it comes to communicating it, when it comes to talking about the ESG efforts, then it becomes a minefield for lots of businesses.
Yeah.
There's been greenwashing, which is when people are saying that. Have you heard of greenwashing?
No, I'm writing it down.
You're in for a treat.
Greenwashing.
Greenwashing is basically when claims are being made around sustainability quite lightheartedly, but actually there's not real substance.
Yeah.
And sometimes claims are not as accurate. So greenwashing, we're saying we're doing something from a sustainability perspective just to like make sure that the facade looks good, but actually the effort behind it is not like as good as it should be.
Yeah.
But the problem is because lots of companies have been called out for that, then something else has happened, which is called green hushing, right?
So they're not doing anything.
Well, even if they are very scared to talk about it because they worry that they might be called out. And in fairness, especially the sustainability piece in the ESG, you have to hit specific criteria, certain targets. It can be quite a complex process. Yeah. And so businesses have become quite concerned that, they might not be hitting the right criteria or they might be called out for greenwashing. Right. So they're green hushing. And so they're not talking about the stuff that they're doing. They'd rather just not have a say, which is a shame because some businesses are doing some great things. And
so like B Corp, that's put your actions where your mouth is. So you have to actually, say you're doing what you're doing, and because you get recertified every 3 years. And then there's something called WELL in property. Yes. I've got, I'm having a chat with them at the moment. That's another thing, like, doing things. But these are the companies that want to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're not on board with this, you're going to get left behind, I think, is what the general consensus is.
Absolutely.
And I love that, green hushing and greenwashing. I'm going to look into more because I've not heard that before. So that's new on this show. And that's very much targeted around the business leaders, I would have thought, and anyone in property. So you heard it here. Yeah. So speak to Beatrice if you want more information on that.
There we go.
But yeah, I guess because, it's a little bit of the unknown if you've really got to find out what it is. When I started this podcast, I didn't have a clue what that was.
Well, that's the thing, because ESG is relatively new and I've seen new roles being created, a bit like we were saying for AI. Now there's a head of ESG.
Yes, there is, and sustainability, yes.
Exactly, which before wasn't even a thing.
No.
Because businesses now feel that there needs to be an expert so that they are doing things right. There's doing things right and then talking about these things externally in the right way. So PR teams, marketing teams, they're having to specialize even more and become more savvy about the topic as well.
Yeah, because you have to, I see, you have to promote it, don't you? And shout about it, we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got to know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a very interesting space. Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we spoke a little bit earlier about where the industry is sort of heading and is innovating fast enough. And I think you feel it is an rapidly ever-changing cycle at the moment within property and real estate.
Yeah, I do think it is. I would also say that I love our industry.
Yeah, me too.
I do think that we are quite conservative, though, at times. We are quite risk averse compared to other sectors. Think tech, for example.
Oh, yeah.
We're quite conservative. We're quite traditional. We don't always like change and we don't like nobody wants to be the first one to do something different.
Yeah.
As soon as it starts kind of having traction in the industry, then everyone else follows. Yeah. But I think we find it hard to pioneer and to jump in. We're very safe as an industry.
So we're looking at companies like CBRE or the large, huge, property folk to lead on things, I think. Would you say that?
Potentially, yeah, absolutely. So I think we have a huge opportunity for innovation, and things like, technology, AI, all of that massively applies to our world. But I do think that we sometimes arrive a bit late to the party, or we lag behind a little compared to other industries because of that very nature, which I think is being forced to change in many ways, because you can't afford to not go with the wave, right? So yeah, I would say I do think it's changing. Even things like personal branding that I've been talking about for many years, now it's a very hot topic. Now people come to me wanting to do their personal brand and work on their personal brand, because other industries, people from other industries, influencers and whatnot, have been talking about it a lot more. And there's lots of examples of personal brands, right? From Richard Branson to Bill Gates to Steve Jobs. Those are all personal brands. But I think even this topic, very well known, very mainstream in other sectors, and it's only in the last few years that it's arrived to property construction. So that's the thing. I think we're always lagging a little bit, but we are speeding up because the world is speeding up.
Yeah, I love that. So looking back, what moment or projects are you very proud of today? I mean, doing what you're doing now is something to be, especially for the length of time that you've been doing it as well.
Yeah, that is a very hard question. I have tried to think about it, but it's hard to pinpoint down the kind of the key moments. I would say the most satisfying thing about personal branding when I started working in this sector is that it's very easy to measure. So if I work with somebody and we say, right, we're going to build the CEO's personal brand because we want to become very established in, the residential sector in the Middle East. And the proof of that would be that we get 5 projects of this value that, over £10 million projects of this type, etc. It is very easy to measure that those opportunities have come in from the CEO's personal brand.
Wow. And that would be with your influence.
That would be with my help in telling them how to do that. And that's what I love, because I do find that in marketing that sometimes can be a little bit trickier. We talk a lot about brand awareness. It's multi-channel. It's normally big beasts. And so it can be hard to look at the ROI. And something I love about personal brand is that we can actually do that. So, collectively, my clients have generated in excess of £140 million worth of opportunities through their personal brands. Collectively. Some great examples are thinking of the recent ones and people that I've worked with one-to-one. I've had a project manager recently, and within about 6 weeks of us working together and really tightening up his message and leveraging platforms like LinkedIn, he's had 2 inbound opportunities come in, one worth £4 million and the other one is worth £20 million.
Wow.
I hope that he lands them, that he actually converts them. But this is the pipeline that he's been building. I've had another client who operates in the workplace sector, so regional director, and we've worked together for quite a while, so for several months, and there's been multi-million-pound pipeline kind of opportunities built from there. But within the first 3 months, he generated a pipeline worth 2 million and converted 750k of that for his business.
Wow.
So I'm sorry to talk very much about the kind of monetary value.
No, not at all. It's business at the end of the day. We don't do it for free, do we?
No, and I think it's important, if you're a big business, but equally I also work with small business owners or people that have just come from corporate and set up their own business. I think it's important to know that the effort that you're going to put in is going to work and what impact that's going to have on your business, which is why I always like to bring these examples, because I think it's important to see the tangible side of it. So that's definitely something that I've been very proud of in the last kind of couple of years, to see them do so well and to see the results of their work ultimately. So yeah, something else that has been amazing for me personally, a milestone, is that I have done my first speaking gig in Saudi. So I was in Riyadh a couple of weeks ago. I went to Cityscape Global and I was emceeing the stage for a whole day.
How many people?
The event is massive. The event is thousands of people.
Oh my goodness.
I was emceeing one of the stages. So there's several stages in this huge event. I was actually blown away by the event and just how they're doing things out there. By the way, as a side note, hospitality was absolutely incredible. Speaking of innovation, 1,000,000 miles an hour. The things that are happening out there are absolutely mind-blowing. So for me, it was amazing. And I was actually leading some podcast interviews, which was a new one for me as well.
Okay.
They were doing a live podcast that they were streaming from the studio, from the event, which was very cool to bring people into the event remotely.
So you've sat where I've sat.
Exactly for the first time in my life. So, but it went really well. And as you were saying earlier, you get to have these conversations with amazing people and you learn so much. So that was a whole new thing for me. That was a first and I really, really enjoyed it. So that was a bit of a personal goal there.
I love that. So what's something you wish you knew when you were starting out? It's always a tough one, isn't it? Even I think about that. So every time I ask it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I think one thing that I wish that I knew, this is going to sound so cheesy. I'm going to say it anyway.
Go for it.
I wish I knew that everything is possible if you know where you're going and what the direction is. So I guess in my career, I've pivoted a couple of times, right? So I started from architecture, went to marketing, corporate marketing, then I set up my own business and now I'm doing personal branding. So there's been a few pivots. And when I first started out, when I was a junior marketeer, I would never have imagined that I would get to run a business and do the amazing things that I'm doing now. And I think the self-doubt and looking at maybe other people and being like, oh my gosh, look at what they're doing. I could never, I will never, like, impossible. I'm not that kind of person. And I think that's so incorrect because as long as you put in the work, as long as you know what the goal is, and if you're looking to build a business, if you know what kind of business you're trying to build and maybe the flexibility that you want to have and the clients that you want to have, as long as you know the direction and you put your mind to it and you put the work in and you're prepared to put the work in for a long time because it can take, months and years. So you have to be very clear about what the intention is and how much you want it. You can literally do anything. You can, learn from other people. You can invest in yourself if you don't have the skills, but anything is possible. Cheesy, but true. And I think that's something that, as most young people, I didn't know when I first started. But if I had had that faith and that knowledge, maybe I would be, even further ahead in my journey. So I think that's what I wish that I knew. We live in a time where it's very easy to set up a business, to work remotely. We've got the tools, we've got the models. So for somebody entering the market, the possibilities are endless. It's not like 20, 30 years ago where there were only a few set paths and that's
that was
it.
me,
Well, there we go. I think now there's an opportunity for anyone at any stage, at any time of their life. So knowing that start from what you want and then work backwards rather than saying, well, these are the opportunities that I've got in front of me. Which one do I pick?
And in the real estate and property world, and facilities, there's so many opportunities.
Gosh.
It's huge. Yes. And I think I say this nearly every time on the show, is that, facilities, for instance, or workplace, as they call it now, is not just, especially post-COVID, is not just changing light bulbs and getting the engineers in to fix the lifts or, it's not about that.
No.
It's about workplace experience, getting people back into the office. What do people want? They're really looking at it from a personal perspective as opposed to those desks and offices looking really plain.
Yeah.
It's really it's an exciting sector to be in, and this is why we shout about it on Wear Many Hats, because we want people to hear all the different types of careers you can have and look at yours.
Honestly, guys, anyone listening, it's such an exciting place to be. It's such an exciting industry to be in. Construction, real estate as a whole, I would probably say the workplace sector is one of the most exciting, exactly because of what you said. Because it's all about the people. So there's elements around psychology, if you like. There's a ton of creativity. There's a ton of tech. There's new roles coming on. There's roles that are more focused around AI, if you're not so keen on the design side. There's a lot around data, around security, the human side. And it's honestly such an interesting and young space as well.
It is, yeah.
And I think people that maybe look at real estate from the outside, they either think high-vis and hard hats or the kind of very boring kind of side of real estate. It's the complete opposite.
Correct.
You get to be very creative. Obviously, some roles more than others, clearly, but I think there's room for everyone, really. So if anyone's on the fence, definitely have a look. There's roles that just didn't exist, roles that are being born as we speak.
Yes.
I just love this part of the industry.
I do too, and I feel especially someone coming into the sector. Oh no, actually, do you know what? You can do an apprenticeship at any time. There's so many different apprenticeships as well. If you go on the government website, you'll see them on there. And if, around property and real estate and commercial property and residential, there's so many different angles to come in at. So yeah, and what other people say on the show is like, you don't be afraid to come in, do something like you did, like pivot and then do something else. It's okay to do that, especially this day and age, because there are so many roles within this sector. It's very interesting, that topic. So if someone came to you tomorrow saying, I want to do what you do, what would you say?
What would I say? So I would say get as much experience as you can. And I'm not saying, spend 10 years in corporate. Do as many different things as possible. Work with different types of people. Work with people that are inspiring to you, because I think the best way to understand, well, how did you get there, is to spend time with them, learn the journey, learn the mistakes, shadow them if you can, and I think even if you're doing some work experience for a short limited of time, even if the pay is not huge, I would say if you're starting your career, prioritize the experience, the time you spend with the people, rather than necessarily the big paycheck, because that will come. So that's what I would say. Have as many conversations as possible. Be very curious and spend time with the people that inspire you, whose lifestyle inspires you. If you looked at me and said, well, I would really like to build a business like Beatrice did, drop me a message. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a coffee. Ask me as many questions as you can. And then figure out from there, well, what would be the best path for me to get there? And
that's kind of what you do, isn't it? So, yeah. People reach out.
Of course. I'm thinking people that are interested in building a business like mine as well. Super happy to just have conversations. But
and there's a lot to be gained from working for yourself. And I've done it.
So. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's for everyone. Some people just love, working for a business for many years, and they're just happy. They've got a very secure paycheck, and that's absolutely fine. What I love about running my business is obviously the flexibility that comes with it, not just time, because obviously it is very hard work. So there is a lot of time that goes in, but the fact that you can shape the business, you can decide what it looks like, you can decide what the service looks like, how people feel when they work with you. There are challenges, because running your own business is not easy.
It really isn't.
It isn't.
There's a lot, because we're responsible for everything. So
yeah, absolutely. So there is a pressure that you need to be resilient to. But I do think it can be very rewarding, and it can be very, very fun as well.
Yeah. It's your own. Something to be proud of.
Wow.
That's really lovely. So let's switch off from work. If I don't know if you do, because you are self-employed, but what do you do? What do you like to do outside your day job?
Oh, absolutely. So I was laughing with somebody the other day, because I realized that my hobbies are they're probably more suited to somebody that's more in their 60s or 70s potentially. And then I did my Spotify wrap up, when it says, what's your listening age? 60 years old. So there we go.
22.
There we go.
My daughter's was 40, and I'm like, hang on a minute, we've gone the wrong way around.
It's minus 60. Actually,
I wonder what you're listening to. That's now intrigued me.
Yeah, 80s music and stuff like that. Some classical music sometimes when I need to relax. So there we go. I can literally be somebody in that age gap. So what do I do outside of work? Well, you're right. My work does really bleed into my professional life. So I love reading, books that are also around self-development and seeing what other people have done. But my hobbies are quite crafty. I like to pot. I like to knit. I like to go for lovely walks in the park. I just love the parks in London. I think they're amazing this time of year where everything's kind of orange and autumny. It's amazing. I love yoga.
Yoga's good.
I do say my hobbies do also help to keep my brain in the right place, right?
Yoga, definitely. Walks, definitely.
Yeah.
Getting with nature for the mental health side of things, that's terrific, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Getting rid of that cortisol. Which is the unhappy. We don't want that. We want more serotonin.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're doing the right thing there. I like a bit of crafts as well.
Oh yeah, it's
candles.
I mean, the outcomes I wouldn't necessarily say are the best, but I enjoy doing it, and often they just get donated, but I think it's about the process, right? And that flow state that people talk about.
So last one, what's the best bit of advice you've ever been given? It always catches people, I think. There's so many.
It is. The best piece of advice I have ever been given, I would say, this is an interesting one, and I think it needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, but I think it's feel the fear and do it anyway.
Love that.
I think I say pinch of salt because I do think that sometimes we do have some inner blockers when it comes to doing things, and I don't think that they should be dismissed. I think sometimes you do need to get to the root of the problem, or like, why do I feel so uncomfortable doing this? I think you should be nice to yourself and not always just like push yourself over the cliff.
Yeah.
However, I think learning how to do the uncomfortable things and be comfortable with them is a really useful skill in life and at work. Feeling uncomfortable, or maybe fear is the wrong word, but feeling a bit resistant to something that we know is going to serve us and decide that we're going to do it anyway is a skill that, even if you decide, I don't know, for instance, if you wanted to work on your fitness, getting up out of bed at 6 a.m. to do the walk or the workout, because nobody likes doing that. But if you can develop a skill whereby it's very easy for you to do the things that you don't really want to do or that make you uncomfortable, I think then you become unstoppable. And I have really not mastered this craft, but I do work on it a lot because I think if we can develop that, then there's very few limits. So there we go.
That's powerful, really. I think so. So getting into the uncomfortable and the unknown can develop us and, bring us into new spaces. But Beatrice, we've come to the end. I could chat to you forever, but that was fantastic. Is there anything you want to kind of add to the podcast that, we might not have covered?
I don't think so. I've really enjoyed our conversation. When I have these conversations, it just reminds me of how much I like our industry and our space and how interesting it is at the moment. There's a lot of talk about the negative sides sometimes of the market and all of this, but these are the conversations that I leave really energized and excited. So it's been absolutely amazing, and thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Thank you, Beatrice. And I'm sure people want to reach out to you, either people that want to speak to you about your branding and get to know a little bit more information on that. So do reach out and share the podcast when it comes up on LinkedIn and everywhere else. But yeah, please do like and share Beatrice's podcast today to anyone that's kind of wanting to get involved in real estate or like I say, needs some help with personal branding. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And that's the end of today's episode of Wear Many Hats. Please do, as I said, like and share and send to friends and family. Until next time, take care.